What's up everyone, Omar here, and today we're going to talk about my 5 favorite accessories for my Fujifilm X100VI, a camera I don't really talk about on this channel, but yeah, let's get into it. So starting off at number 1 is actually this Zeniko wireless flash system. Now, if you've watched my other videos, you've probably seen the Zeniko flashes before. I like them. They're USB-C chargeable. They have the ZF-04 and the ZF-08. I've got a pair of 08s. But recently they released a wireless flash trigger, and this is probably my favorite accessory for any camera that's come out in a very long time. Now, the way that they're able to maintain its really small size is that it's USB-C chargeable. So there is no removable battery, but you have 440 full power flashes on one charge, and it recharges in about 40 minutes. The chances of you using 440 full power flashes over the course of an entire day or 2 days or even a weekend is pretty slim. The 04s are smaller and less powerful. The 08, not really that much bigger and considerably more powerful, 5 different power levels. I've talked about them before on the channel, but the wireless flash trigger is really what changed it for me. I like taking portraits, I like flash photography, and although the X100VI has a built-in camera flash, you're going to end up with an aesthetic that's actually pretty popular right now, the direct flash look. But if you want something that shapes people a little more, you can literally just hold this off to the side and click. Connecting it is really easy. You just press these Wi-Fi buttons, they sync at the same time, and you can choose whether you want to have another flash on top or not. I do like that it acts as a flash riser as well. I honestly prefer using this over the built-in flash, but it's just nice for us to have a built-in flash anyway. And as of now, the flashes themselves are about 30 bucks, and the wireless system is just a little more than that. It really is very cost-effective, but the best thing about this is because the Fujifilm X100VI is a leaf shutter camera, and the Mark V and 4, they're all leaf shutter, so this actually works with all the X100s. There is no sync speed limitation. Now, I used this recently on a trip when I went up to Vermont and I was reviewing the Sigma 18-50. You can check out that video, and all the flash shots that you saw in that video were actually taken with this. The thing is, if your camera has a mechanical shutter, then you are going to be limited to whatever the sync speed is. On most Fujifilm cameras, it's 1/250th of a second. If you have the ones with a dial, you can actually see wherever the X is. This is my old XT3, but where the X is, I think you can see that. That's usually the max sync speed. Actually, here's the XT5. Does this have this too? Yeah, same thing. The silver's a little lighter here. Let's see if you can see it. So yeah, that X is the max, which, you know, it's not that bad, but if it's really bright outside and you want to use a flash for some fill, it's not going to happen. The downside on most cameras is that you can't cut any other light, any ambient light or anything, unless you have an ND filter. But this camera, of course, has a leaf shutter and also a built-in ND, so it makes off-camera flash photography really, really easy, and again, really, really portable. You could, if you're crazy, you could actually just put this on a stand on the side if you want to carry a small stand with you. I just like holding it off to the side, and this has honestly amplified the use of this camera considerably for me, because I was on the fence about selling it before, but now I think it's going to stick around for a while. Let me know if you want to see a video on any portrait sessions with this in the future. One other thing that I really like about these is that aside from the fact that they sync together quickly, once you sync them, you don't have to resync them every time you turn the camera on. That's something that my previous off-camera flash, the Lightpix Lab flash, which is a good flash, but you had to, if you wanted to go off-camera flash, you had to resync it every single time you remove the camera from the remote. And then also you could never fully tell when the remote was off. So oftentimes you'd find the battery drained for that, and then you could only use it off camera, and it kind of sucks, especially because it uses a micro USB instead of a USB-C cable to charge, which, I mean, those should have been phased out like 10 years ago. The world has been on USB-C for quite some time. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is actually this grip that I use. This is a SmallRig grip, and I got the one with the wooden handle. Main reason for it is that it has this Arca Swiss plate on the bottom, although the grip is nice. And I'm going to give you an option on this one. So there's this, and then there's the cage that I also have, just because I'm a video guy. How do I get this to focus? Of course, Fujifilm's autofocus works the one time I don't want it to. There we go. Let's cover my face here. But the issue I have with this one is that it still only has one mounting point. Normally, SmallRig's cages or any other cage have multiple mounting points. This one doesn't. And to me, that kind of defeats the purpose of the cage. It's just nice that you have the connections up top in case you want to mount it for video work, since the X100VI is actually a pretty good video camera too. But it's a little lacking, and it looks, I'm not going to say it looks tacky, because I do like the way that it looks on my XT5. It has a similar cage. But for some reason, I prefer the styling of the silver with the X100 Mark VI. And they did a better job than pretty much any other company out there. And thankfully didn't have like crazy branding all over the place. Just this one little area down here that you can barely, there you go. You can see it now. So that's all the branding they have on this. They do have, I think, just an Arca Swiss plate available as well, but the grip is nice. I wish it was a little more flush with the body, but overall, this kind of stays on the camera full time because it makes it much easier to hold, and there's always an Arca Swiss plate ready to go, so I can pop it onto a tripod pretty much whenever. There are a couple of companies that make their own version of this. I still think SmallRig has the best one, and of course, because they're SmallRig, they give you a little screwdriver in case you want to unscrew it when you're on the go, or tighten it if it gets loose. But this has actually never gotten loose on me, which is great because that's normally not a thing that happens with these cages and grips. So this next thing here is this Hoage, I think that's how it's pronounced. This is their like UV filter connector thing, but it serves two purposes. Number one, it weather seals the camera. As you know, the X100 Mark VI, just like the 5, is weather sealed with the exception of the front element. If you want to get it fully weather sealed, you have to actually buy this Fujifilm kit that screws on here and then screw on a UV filter on top of it. And the thing that really annoys me about this kit, and why I ended up getting this, is because once you mount the kit, the OEM Fuji kit, you can't use the OEM like lens hood cover thing, whatever you want to call this. This no longer fits. Like, you can no longer use this, which is so odd. It just falls off. So for a while, the only real solution was using this newer cap, which it's nice. It's a little bigger and a little deeper than the original. And I think that's why it doesn't pop off. But like, I'm not a fan. I like the Fujifilm letters in the front. This is an okay design. Probably just a me problem. Like, I wish the OEM options worked. Like, here are the two pieces that you need. There's this, and then there's the actual UV filter that they sell. Looks like the autofocus doesn't do too well on this camera if it's a reflective surface. But yeah, like it looked a little goofy. So I found this thing, and it looks good. I think it complements the aesthetic very well. Which is kind of hard to do. There are a lot of options for this, and this is the only one that, in my opinion, looks good, at least on the silver body. So you do have a couple of options. I think they come in a couple of colors as well. I've seen someone rock a red one before. This is pretty cheap. It's like 25 bucks. It's half the price of these, the OEM Fuji stuff. And again, the most important part is that it weather seals the camera, but it also has the added bonus of giving you a filter thread. I can see most people mounting a Pro Mist filter or a CPL onto this thing, and you don't really have to use a neutral density filter since you have a built-in one right here, a 4-stop. But you could put a VND on as well if you wanted to, have some crazy long exposures. Overall, it's another cheap accessory under 30 bucks, and I feel like it's an easy decision for pretty much anyone with a camera to make. I just like being able to fit the OEM lens hood cover lens cap thing right here. It just looks better to me. Now, I know that this kind of ruins the spirit of the X100, but I personally don't care all that much. Now, there are two of these. There is the WCL, which is the wide conversion lens, and this is the TCL, the teleconversion lens. And this one gives it a 1.5x not crop, but a magnification. So you get a 50 millimeter focal length equivalent, and this looks really good for portraits. Now, because you're screwing this on and because it's the glass element that's actually magnifying the image, you still have the full 40 megapixels. There is no digital crop involved. And then if you do use the digital crop feature, it goes from 50 to 75 to, I believe it was 105. Which you have to remember that when you do the crop ins, for anyone that's about to say, you could just use the digital teleconverter, that physically just crops in the image. That doesn't change the compression and the subject magnification like a real lens does. And this one does. And I'm sure there's probably a test out there that shows that this kind of reduces the image quality or something if you super pixel peep. But I've looked in pretty tight on some of these shots, and if it exists, I don't see it. Now, I was hoping there were some other brands, aftermarket brands that made their own version. I tried them out. I was hoping they were going to be good because this thing, especially now after the idiot Trump tariffs, it's like 400 bucks if you want to buy it new. And there's a Mark 1 and a Mark 2. You just got to remember that the Mark II was made for the X100V and 6 because they have more megapixels. Something about, I think the old one like wouldn't resolve properly or something with the higher megapixel cameras. 85 is my favorite focal length, but 50 is a very close second. And this almost stays on full time. It kills me because like it's so good, but it does kind of ruin the aesthetic a little bit. It's just that it makes the camera so much chunkier. And at this point, I think I should carry the X-T5 with me if it's gonna be this big. But honestly, I've been pretty happy. This is a circular polarizer. You have a 67mm filter thread on this thing. So any filters that you want to toss on are going to be 67mm. I usually keep, when I'm in the city, a polarizer on because I like shooting through glass, and this cuts down on the highlights considerably. Not including that, that's optional for you. But this is something I really enjoy. Again, that 28mm converter, I don't really care for it too much. I'd rather just take a step back, and I've yet to be in a situation where I'm like back up against the wall. So yeah, you could go either way. If you're someone who likes landscapes, maybe you'll like the 28 more. I really, really, really enjoy this 50, and I can't help but wonder what it would be like if they released a 50mm version of the X100VI while using this, because I think it would be a very hot seller and potentially outsell the original at the 35mm focal length. So the last thing, for those of you who have seen my XM5 video, you've probably seen it there. So Lano, they're the first ones to my knowledge that made all of these rechargeable battery cases. This one's one of their less popular ones, I think, because it's a little chunky, but it has a built-in battery. And if you're going to be out for a day and just want to be able to charge your phone and charge batteries on the go, it's a pretty cool option. But what I really like is that they have these USB-C chargeable batteries, and that's it. It just has a USB-C port right there. So if you have a power bank already, or if you know you're going to be around a power supply, you don't have to bring anything else with you. You can just pop a couple of these batteries in your bag and then just plug them in when they need to be charged. Now, like all aftermarket batteries, they don't hold as much charge as the OEM, the originals, but this might be a 5% difference at most, and it works great. Short one for today, trying to keep the cadence up on the channel while I'm busy. But if you want to see any videos on this camera, let me know. This is like a super personal camera in that I don't even talk about it on YouTube. Hated the 5, love the 6. It's weird. Anyway, if you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. And as always, I'll catch you at the next one. See ya.